Picture a full flight. 200 people packed in, every seat sold, bags in the overhead, engines spooling up, the whole machine worth over $100 million rolling toward the runway. Something about that flight will sound impossible. Every ticket on that flight, sold at full price, adds up to a small fraction of how this airline actually earns. The most profitable thing this airline does today has nothing to do with flying you anywhere. It happens quietly in a bank's back office, and it involves a product the airline creates out of absolutely nothing. The miles, the little points you rack up buying groceries. To understand how points beat planes, how the reward program quietly became worth more than the airline flying it, you have to follow the money, one transaction all the way down, and it starts with a number that makes no sense. Last year, one American bank paid Delta Airlines around $6.8 billion for points. For a currency the airline prints out of thin air at almost no cost. American Express, Delta, nearly $7 billion in a single year for miles, which on the surface is insane. A bank handing over billions for something an airline can create infinite amounts of for free. Real money to buy printed money. This video answers 3 questions. Why airlines sell miles to banks, why the banks pay so much, and why that quiet transaction is now worth more than every plane in the fleet. By the end of this video, you'll understand how selling miles to banks turned airlines into something they never quite admit to being, and why you and the miles sitting in your account right now are actually the product being traded. Follow the money. Step 1. The story starts in 1981 when American Airlines invented the frequent flyer program. Simple idea. Fly with us, earn points, come back, loyalty in exchange for future travel. 6 years later, in 1987, American took the second step, the one that quietly changed everything. It partnered with a bank to launch a co-branded credit card. Suddenly, the miles were a product the airline could sell in bulk for cash. Look, the mechanism matters because you're inside it right now. Every time you swipe a co-branded airline credit card, the bank has already bought those miles from the airline in bulk with real money before you ever earned them. The bank hands them to you as bait. You keep spending. The bank collects a swipe fee, a small slice of every purchase forever. Banks are so happy to pay for a specific reason. A card that earns airline miles is a card you keep on top of your wallet. It's the one you reach for at the gas station, the grocery store, the restaurant. Billions in miles buys the bank billions in your everyday spending. And this quietly implicates everyone watching. Most miles today have nothing to do with flying. According to industry reporting, roughly 58% of all miles are now earned on the ground. At the checkout counter, not on a boarding pass. You think you're earning flight rewards. In practice, you're the thing the bank bought. The airline is selling you access to your own wallet, which is fair enough on the bank side of the deal. The stranger question is on the other side. Why the airline is so eager to sell. Follow the money. Step 2. A company that flies planes for a living would rather print money than fill its own seats. That's the story of the last 20 years because of the margin. Selling miles runs at a profit margin of roughly 50%. In an industry where a good year means high single-digit margins across all operations, that number is the single most profitable thing an airline does by a wide distance. And it isn't close, which explains what happens when you actually look at what an airline is worth. Independent analysts at On Point Loyalty value Delta's SkyMiles program at roughly $31.7 billion. That's just the loyalty program. That's more than Delta's entire market value has been worth at points in recent years. American's AAdvantage sits above $26 billion. United's Mileage Plus north of $25 billion. The flights are the marketing. The miles are the business. Honestly, this next part sounds like a joke. During the pandemic, when the planes stopped flying, airlines went to Wall Street and borrowed against the one thing they had left: the miles. In July 2020, United pledged its Mileage Plus program as collateral to raise a $6.8 billion loan. The lenders valued the program alone at roughly $22 billion. American did the same with AAdvantage, and independent valuations came back as high as $31.5 billion. The airline was in the middle of an operational catastrophe. Jets parked, crews furloughed, revenue gone, and the part of it Wall Street would lend against was the points program. The way those bonds were priced carried a blunt implication. The planes, the crews, the gates, the routes on their own, without the miles, were worth roughly nothing. The miles were the entire company. An airline is a credit card company with planes attached, and the planes are the least valuable thing it owns. Which brings us to the question you've probably been asking since the start. Miles this valuable, and the ones in your account still feel completely worthless. Follow the money. The last step. This one leads back to you. The airline designed them that way. And there's a technical name for the trick. Breakage. Breakage is what the industry calls it when you never redeem. You sign up for the card because of the 80,000 mile bonus. You spend enough to trigger it, and then life happens, and the miles sit there, and the trip never gets booked. The bank already paid the airline for those miles in cash up front, and the airline never has to fly you anywhere. That gap is pure profit, a system deliberately engineered to profit from your inaction. And the scale of that engineered inaction is staggering. Industry estimates, originally from McKinsey, put the total number of unredeemed frequent flyer miles sitting in accounts worldwide at around 30 trillion. In some programs, according to CBS News, as little as 8% of miles are ever actually cashed in for a flight. Trillions of units of a currency printed and sold to banks for real money, quietly designed to evaporate, and even when you do try to spend them, there's a second layer to the trap. The airline controls exactly how many award seats it releases on any flight. The currency is real. The thing you want to buy with it is rationed by the same company that sold it to you. You can have infinite miles and still not book the seat you want on the date you want. It is the only currency on earth where the people who printed it are quietly hoping you never spend it. Hold your miles and wait for the big trip, and the airline has one final move. It can change what your money is worth overnight without asking. Because the airline prints the currency and sets its price, it can devalue your miles anytime. The 80,000 mile flight you were saving for quietly becomes 110,000. You didn't lose any miles. Each one just secretly became worth less. It's inflation the airline controls with a keystroke on a currency you can't move to another bank, and the part that should genuinely shake you. Airline miles are, by some measures, the third largest currency on the planet, behind only the US dollar and the euro. Roughly $300 billion of them are issued every single year. Every real currency on that list has a central bank, a regulator, rules, someone watching to make sure the money in your account tomorrow is worth what it is today. This one has none of that. Under airline deregulation, not a single government agency oversees frequent flyer programs. The terms and conditions all of us clicked past reserve the airline's right to devalue your miles without warning whenever it helps the bottom line. A multi-hundred billion dollar currency with zero regulator. That is finally starting to change. In September 2024, the U.S. Department of Transportation opened a formal investigation into the frequent flyer programs of the four largest U.S. airlines: American, Delta, United, and Southwest. The focus: devaluation of earned rewards, hidden pricing, and the erosion of what customers were originally promised. It's the first time any authority with real power has looked inside the machine. Whether it survives a change of administration and whether it produces anything binding is still an open question. As this video goes up, you earned a currency you can't price, can't protect, and can't cash out. Issued by the only bank on earth allowed to quietly rob its own depositors. So, the answer to the video's opening question is stranger than a rewards program with a bank deal bolted on. The airline is a bank. It prints a currency. It sells that currency to real banks for real dollars. It controls what the currency is worth, and it keeps a fleet of planes as a marketing expense somewhere for the currency to be spent, so that when you look at it, it feels like more than money. It feels like a trip. Follow the money one last time, all the way up the chain. You spend on the card. The bank buys miles from the airline to reward you. The airline banks the cash immediately. You chase a flight that keeps getting more expensive in a currency only they control. And most of the time, statistically, you never collect at all. At every step, real money moves in one direction, toward the airline. The only thing moving toward you is a number in an account, one they can shrink whenever they choose, which leaves exactly one decision in this whole system that still belongs to you. The miles in your account function as an interest-free loan you've made to an airline. In a currency, it can devalue at will, and one it's quietly betting you'll never call in. So call it in. Book the flight. Spend them before they spend you. Because in a currency you don't control, the only move you have left is to stop holding it.